Welcome to the Gator Tales podcast with Sean Kelley. Hi again, everybody, and it's really great to have you along with us here for episode number 51. On this episode, we'll be talking with someone from two different football teams. Of course, that depends on where you live. Football in the American sense that we'll visit with George Gumbs of the Gators football defense and Samantha Bohon, the head coach of the Gators soccer team. Of course, it's called football everywhere but the United States. George Gumbs, now a fifth-year senior, transfer from Northern Illinois in his second season with the Florida Gators. He actually led the team in tackles in week 3, and he's really become a force and a team leader as he plays that outside linebacker jack position. We'll get to know George a little bit more personally, and we'll get his thoughts about the Gators defense too. Samantha Bohon is entering her 4th season now as the head coach of the Gators soccer program. They're off to a 4-4 start. 0-1 in SEC play, having just recently lost to ranked Arkansas, and they have 2 big matches coming up. Her roster now reflects more of what she envisions her program to be. It is a little on the young side, but there are veterans complementing those young players here in Season 4 too. We'll talk about building a roster in her sport, what makes her team different this year, and where it could go. So with that, I hope that you'll enjoy these 2 conversations from 2 very different corners of campus. George Gumbs and Samantha Bohon, our guests on episode number 51 of the Gator Tales podcast with Sean Kelley. The Gator Tales podcast with Sean Kelley is presented by UF Health. UF Health has locations throughout Florida, including Gainesville, Jacksonville, St. Augustine, Leesburg, and the Villages. And we're growing. Compassionate care and world-class outcomes. That's our game plan. Visit ufhealth.org to learn more. And now, the podcast designed specifically for the congregation. Florida Gators defender George Gumbs is a native of Chicago, Illinois. Are you a Chicago sports fan up and down the line?
Yeah, I like to tune in sometimes with the Bears and the Bulls, so, I say I am.
Is it easy or hard being a fan when you're an athlete yourself?
Yeah, it can be hard. Some days I get kind of mixed up with all the tape and film and recovery. I kind of can't catch everything going on, so I just like to snoop in, sometimes.
When are the Bears going to be good again? Do you get that a lot?
Yeah, they just got to hang in there, it's just one day at a time. I feel like they'll get it together real soon.
Did you ever go to games when you were growing up, whether it's the Bears or the Bulls?
I maybe caught like one game of each growing up. Yeah, in person. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to put my finger on what Bulls era is yours?
The Derrick Rose era. I actually went to Derrick Rose High School. So yeah, Simeon Career Academy. So yeah, that was my peak time watching the Bulls. Yeah.
You didn't mention the Cubs or the White Sox. Either you're not a baseball guy or you don't want to tell me which side of the city you're on.
Okay, I'm not too big on baseball, but my father is a Cubs fan, so I'll have to lean with the Cubs.
Okay, well, I'm a Cardinals fan, so that's okay. I still like your old man. You met Simeon, as you mentioned. Who was your biggest rival in high school?
It was Phillips.
Mm-hmm. Take me back to when you were playing them in whatever sport. What did that feel like? What did a rivalry game in high school feel like for you?
It was pretty fun. Like, I could go back to, I want to say, my sophomore year. Like, the stands was packed. It was rowdy. Like, it was very competitive. It was a very close game. It was like, it was something like up until where I am now. That was like some of the highest competition I would have been a part of up until like before college. Yeah.
Do you feel that way as a college player in rivalry games, or is it a different kind of feeling?
I feel like I feel that way. Like, it's rivalry games. They have great players. We have good players, and we just both gotta bring our best, and whoever make the most plays will win. Yeah,
and it seems like Florida has more rivalries than any other place that I've ever been around. Do you feel that way too?
I feel that way, and I actually love that. Like, that's part of the reason I came here. We got a lot of big games to play and a lot of top ranked opponents, and it's a lot of rivalries. So I love those games, and I feel like I like to come alive in those games.
You started at Northern Illinois. Do I have my notes right? Did you walk on at Northern Illinois?
Yeah, I walked on my freshman year as a tight end.
How in the heck did a guy like you and the way you play end up being a walk-on at Northern Illinois?
I came out the year of 21. The previous year was COVID, so I lost all my offers during that time. My couple offers I had, so I fell to a Division II level of recruitment, and I didn't want to go Division II, so I just took my chances and walked on there.
What changed after you got there? What changed for you?
I'll say, just getting into a program and just getting around the brotherhood and just the strength and conditioning, everything, just taking everything seriously and getting around a good group of friends to push me. I feel like that's what changed.
I think we're going to learn more over the coming years, George, about guys and their transfer stories. And I think we're going to see, a wide spectrum of experiences there. What about you? What was it about the transfer? Why'd you do it?
I feel like I transfer. I didn't have to leave Northern Illinois. I left as a starter, so I left on good terms. I still have a good connection with everybody at Northern Illinois. So I left because I wanted to play on the bigger stage, bigger competition, a bigger everything. So I wanted to keep chasing my dream,
Most of the guys that you play with or play against now don't have that group of five or FCS level experience behind them. Why do you think it makes you a better football player as opposed to maybe their experience?
I feel like I have a sense of more grit than other players. You in the MAC, we play like on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and negative degree weather, and you got to go out there and perform. So I feel like that's what I got. I bring to the table more effort, more grit. That's what I think.
What's the hardest thing you've ever been through in your life?
The hardest thing I've ever been through in my life, probably one of the things is being told I wouldn't be able to start at Northern Illinois. So just having my dreams and aspirations just shot down. I remember I was lost. I was hurting. I looked to my father, and he had told me to just hang in there, just keep going, just keep pushing, and that's what I did. I was just looking around for answers, and I just kept doing that, and then I made a transition to DN, and I kept fighting. I earned a way to the field, and I ended up here. Yeah.
The position change, like you said, and I want to get to that in a second. Other than the fact that he's your dad, why did you think he was the one that could help you get through that time?
I mean, he's my hero. Just all my life I looked up to my father. He always been there, so it's only right to look towards him. So he got me through some dark times, I would say. I feel like without my father, I probably wouldn't have made it nowhere near this far, being from where I'm from.
We should say his name, shouldn't we?
George Gumbs Jr.
You talked about your position change. First of all, different places call different positions certain things. What do we call your position here at Florida?
Outside linebacker.
Okay. Right. Jack, or, I've heard edge, right.
Outside linebacker, yeah.
George, if you were to write a job description for the position you play, what would it say?
I feel like my job description would be like a jack of all trades. I do a little bit of everything. I stop the run, I pass rush, I cover guys. You can see me on the field doing a lot of things. Like this week, you can see me out at the number one guarding the running back 1-on-1, man-to-man. So, yeah.
A little bit of everything, like you said. But doesn't that allow you to disrupt a lot of things?
Yeah, no doubt. You'll never know what I'm doing. You don't know if I'm covering. You don't know if I'm blitzing. So that's what I like about it.
Let's talk about this Gators defense. You collectively now as a group have put together 3 couple good weeks there, and I sense there's pride in your work, and that's not just you. That's you and your teammates. Is there swagger that comes with that, or what would you say is the mentality of that group?
I feel like when you think about swag, it's about doing your job. I have a certain sense of confidence that I know what I'm doing all the time. I watch the tape. We practice hard, so I know what I'm doing. When I get to the atmosphere, when I get to the field, I know exactly what I'm doing. So just having that feeling, bringing that swag, then the execution feels emotion. We bring all that together. I feel like that's us right there. We do all that very well. We feed off each other. We play off each other. We have fun. Have lots of energy, and it's a brotherhood out there. Nobody want to let somebody down. I don't want to let Sap down. I want to let Jordan Castell down. I don't want to let Devin Moore down. So I make sure I bring my all to the table every week.
Interesting. I've watched you here in the last 5-6 months, really kind of emerge as a leader. And I was very pleased to see that as a fifth-year senior, right? From that experience, that maturity. You know, one of the other leaders on your team right now, I think, is 19 years old, Miles Graham. I can't get my arms around that. Yeah. What about you?
I feel like he earned it. You know, as he came in, all he did was work. He didn't do anything the wrong way. You know, you can't have no dirt on him. So he worked hard. When he got on the field, he made his plays. So why not say something? You know, like when you're in that position, I feel like you should be sought out there to say something, or feel more entitled to say something. So I feel like he earned it.
Would you admit that you would never have been able to predict where you are today?
Yeah, no doubt. If you told me before, like, my senior year of high school, I was going to play for the Florida Gators, I would have probably looked at you crazy, like, what are you talking about? I barely even know what I'm about to do right now.
So with that in mind, what would you tell your 18-year-old self?
I'd tell my 18-year-old self, keep your head up and keep going.
When it's all said and done, what do you want to have when you leave Gainesville, Florida?
I want to be solidified as somebody that's came to the program and played hard, did what he had to do, and maybe even a great.
Last thing. I don't care how many interviews you do over the next couple of months, there's going to be something about you that nobody knows about. Okay. So let's just get it out now. What's the one thing about George Gumbs Jr. that nobody's ever asked about or would surprise even your friends from long ago?
Okay, one thing about me that no one knows about, even my friends from long ago, I'll probably say I love watching movies, but you'll catch me going to the movie theater by myself. So, you know, I like to sneak to the movie theater by myself. I give me a nice little hoodie, probably sneak me a couple snacks in there. I know you're not supposed to do that, but that's what I do, you know. A nice little scary movie come out, I love to go in there by myself and just watch me a nice little movie. You know, sometimes I don't even watch the movie. I might just take a nap. You know, it's a very expensive nap, but I'll do it.
You're not kidding about expensive now. And look, if that's the one thing that people haven't figured out, that's a pretty good thing. I think you're pretty safe with that, being you and your own routine.
Okay. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. Great visiting with you. Good luck the rest of the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Fourth-year head coach Samantha Bohon of the Florida Gators joins us now here on the Gator Tales podcast. Fourth year for me, too. We came to Gainesville together. At least I like to tell people that. Samantha, you're traveling, and I appreciate you joining us on your way back to Gainesville. It's interesting. Let's start there. Fourth season for you. Maybe a twofold question here. How different is your program, and how different are you personally? It's year 1 to year 4.
The second one's easy. I've got a few more gray hairs and wrinkles in my face, but no, with all seriousness, you know, there's a lot of similarities and a lot of differences. I think we were really lucky. Anytime you inherit a program, you never know exactly what kind of people you're gonna get. And for us, we were really grateful that first year we had a lot of really quality people as a part of, you know, Gator soccer. So for us, it was just trying to implement the standards, the culture, the style of play that we wanted to bring to Gainesville. And so you see it starting to take shape now this year. This was our first year, the season, with our recruits where we had a year to kind of invest in the whole recruiting process. And I think you're starting to see some of that impact.
That roster building that goes along with program building, Samantha. Let's use a scale of 1 to 10 here, okay? 10 being I have the roster that I want, and 1 obviously being the other direction. What number would you give your roster here in 2025?
Yeah, I think we're close. You know, I think it's a little bit different. Todd Golden and I have talked a lot about roster building. I think he's been an expert in that. And their sport's a little bit different. You know, they play 5 players on the court at a time, whereas we play 11. So it just takes a little bit longer. And you had the perfect storm of NIL, this new landscape of the rev share, the transfer portal. But I really, really like the people that we have, and I think we're getting much closer to the type of talent and the style of play that we want to have. So we're definitely making really good progress.
With that being said, I shouldn't be too surprised that your roster is pretty young. Is that
Right.
fair to characterize as such?
It is. It's actually a pretty cool balance. I think you see some really young, dynamic talent, but also, our staff loves to develop. And so I also think you've seen some of our seniors that have scored their first ever goal, for Gator soccer. And I think that's a testament to the investment that we've made, that they've made in the development side of things too.
How vulnerable are you to the transfer portal? How much does it help you in the same process we've been discussing?
Yeah, I think with the roster cap, we had to trim down our roster last year, so we lost some really good people. But for them, they needed to pursue an opportunity where they were going to have a bigger impact, and we follow them and we're really supportive of them from afar. And so yeah, we've actually used it more towards our advantage. We've been able to bring in some key players. You see some of the players right now that are playing for us were transfers. So I think for us, it's been a positive. But you never know. It's kind of a year to year answer.
Help me understand. You said you had to cap your roster, limit your roster. Does this have to do with revenue sharing?
Yes. So as a part of the revenue share model, every sport now has a roster cap. So last year our roster was 33, but this year it had to be 28 per the settlement rules. So we had to release both players that were already on our team, and we ended up actually having to release two players that were verbally committed to coming in this year, which was one of the hardest things I've ever actually had to do in my 25 years of being a college coach. It was a really difficult conversation for those players and families.
I can only imagine. I'm familiar, obviously, with the football size of their roster and the walk-on component that goes with college football, Samantha, and eventually that number will be reduced. They grandfathered in those walk-ons. Did you all not get the same considerations in the sport of soccer?
A little bit, yeah. We do have that designated student athlete, but most of our players, I would say actually probably all of our players want to play. And I think that I've always been really a transparent coach. I would like to think that our players know where they stand, know their strengths, their superpowers, and also the things that they need to work on. So I think it was a mutual conversation where a lot of the players, had put their best foot forward and it just hadn't worked out and paid off. And so we wanted to help them find their next situation that would enable them to kind of use their strengths to help a program.
We'll talk more about individuals here in a second. Let's get to kind of like the team itself. You're 8 matches in at the time of our conversation, 4-4, 0-1 in the SEC. Of course, I think you probably got one of like the two hardest teams in the conference to start your conference schedule, and you almost got them.
Yep.
Samantha, when you look at the first 8 matches, give me the highs, give me the lows here through the 8 games so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in the results business, so we wanted to be a little bit further along from a results standpoint. But I think soccer is such a unique sport. If you look at 4 of our losses, I would say 3 of them we had the better opportunities and the better run of play, and we just didn't capitalize on our chances. So that's just the sport of soccer. So we could be sitting here, and we could be 7-1 and not play much differently than what we did. So yeah, it's just it's a challenge, and the SEC is a gauntlet. Every game is, you saw last week in the opening rounds. I think almost every ranked SEC team besides Arkansas didn't get a result. So it really is a top to bottom league that every night's going to be a battle.
Never have I heard someone more frustrated about corner kicks than you already this season.
uh,
14, and you couldn't get any of those to
oh
punch
my
in.
gosh! Well, I just saw a statistic. We're actually 5th in the country in total corners earned, which is a really good stat to have. But we've got to be way more opportunistic with putting away those chances.
In regards to, and I'll probably label this wrong, I consider corner kicks like special teams. So if that's special teams, or if I'm using a basketball analogy, baseline inbound play type thing,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
How much time and effort goes into those situations for you?
Yeah, we do them every week for sure in practice, and um, a lot of the opportunities we've had, you have to give credit to some of the goalkeepers we've played against. We've had some incredible performances against us, uh, and so they've certainly played a part in us not being able to finish some of those opportunities. But again, it's a little bit of our youth where we are the first contact to those corners, but maybe technique wise, we try to flick it where we need to square up our shoulders and head it. That was kind of my jam. That was one of the things I was really good at as a player. So we've tried to spend some time on that, as well as create some different opportunities where different looks where we can maybe have some different runs.
Your team, and as I get conversations about it from observers, we'll go with that. Um, there's been different things that you've shored up at different times. Like, for
Right.
example, maybe it was a season ago. Don't want to be off by a season, but I'm thinking a season ago, boy, Florida is really defending well. Now they're just having trouble scoring. Where would you gauge, both sides of the pitch there?
Yeah, I think that was fair. I mean, I've never had a season like we did last year where we were so good in so many facets of the game, except we never could solve the scoring piece, and so that was obviously really disappointing for us. We recruited pretty heavily. We knew we had some really good freshmen coming in, but we also anticipated we were graduating our entire starting back line, which is unusual. You don't normally have that level of graduation, but it was a combination of both COVID and senior classes. So it was a little bit of the perfect storm. So we brought in some transfers, and then we've obviously invested in some of our returning players. So I think that's probably our area of growth right now for this year, is we've been able to score, minus the Georgia State game. We've been able to score enough to be in contention to win, but we just have to keep teams off the scoreboard a little bit better.
I would love for Florida soccer fans to get to know the players a little bit better. So I'll give you the
Yeah.
choice. Do you want to start with the youngins, or you want to go with your vets? And
I'm going to stick with my ride or die, the vets that have hung with us in this program. So I'm always really grateful for them.
who tops that list? You mentioned earlier it's been gratifying for you to see them finally put one in the back of the net. Is that the group you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have somebody like Tatum O'Coin. Our team knows how important and special she is for us. She's not going to show up on the score sheet from her previous years here, but if you just watch her work rate, her team first attitude, she got on the scoreboard earlier this year, came off an ACL injury. She was one of the players that we had out last year, and just represents all the good things about Florida soccer. And, really, really grateful for her. She sets the tone. She's a leader for our program. She always does what she's asked to do and then some. So, and then you can go run down the list. Lauren McCloskey has paid her dues, and here she is finally starting consistently her senior year. Charlotte McClure transferred in from Virginia and has just gradually gotten better and better. And now she's a really important field leader for us and plays big minutes. Najiri Butts, she was an interesting player. We started her in the back when she first got to Florida, and then we moved her up top. And she's had a really dynamic start. So there's just a lot of really positive stories for this group.
And you mentioned one player coming back from injury. Another one would be, Higginkamp.
Mm-hmm.
She missed an entire season too, didn't she? After
Yep.
being all
Yep.
SEC second team. So there are some redemption stories involved here too.
Yeah, very much so. And I think even the seniors who were healthy, I think that they've paid their dues. They've worked really hard. They've stuck with it. And so to see them playing their best soccer, I mean, as a coach, that's what you want for them, is to see their development pay off. And so that's been really exciting.
Abby Jimma leads you in minutes at this point. Like, she's come, I think, pretty close to what her total minutes were last year. Why do you want her on the field as much as you've had her?
Yeah, she transferred in from Notre Dame. We actually recruited her initially. She was the starting center back for the U17 national team, and went to Notre Dame and just wanted to play a little bit of a bigger role. And so didn't even take visits in the transfer portal. Just once we had our conversation, she's like, I'm in. I missed it the first time around, but we got her the second time around. And I think she's a real competitor. I think she's an elite performer. She wants to constantly ask herself, what can she do to make herself better and ultimately make the team better. And, I think that she's come in with a group of transfers that have had that mindset. And I think the level of professionalism that we have on our team is really elevated.
Young wise, let's talk about the SEC Freshman of the Week after the win at Maryland. Addie Hess, speaking of transfers, she comes from Penn State out of the state of Virginia, she comes from Virginia via Penn State. But Coach, she redshirted. Is that the case? And now she's finally getting her chance to get it going?
She did. She redshirted. I think there's several reasons why they made that choice there, and we're happier for it. It gives us an extra year with her here. She's just one of those players that has the instinct to score goals, and she is incredibly effective with her back to pressure. So when she's receiving the ball with her back to the goal we want to score on, she still finds ways to manage to keep the ball, keep possession, and then help us get into the attack. And, she's a big part of why we've been able to have a lot more possession on the field.
Two things, and I'll let you go, Coach. Number one, with this particular group, style of play, what favors your personnel? What parts of the field do you want to maximize with this particular group?
Yeah, I think that you're seeing a little bit of a transformation and an evolution with this. I think when we first got here, there was a good amount of really athletic players, but maybe not from the technical standpoint, the level that we were hoping for. So both with our development of our returners plus the recruiting of our younger players, I think you're now seeing that blend of you have to be athletic to play in the SEC. That's just kind of the bedrock foundation of our league. But then we want to be able to play really good soccer and be able to keep it under pressure. And so you're seeing that this year in particular, where our midfield, I think, as a line has done a really, really good job of being able to space out and play under pressure and keep possession and connect the lines together. So it's been a really nice, again, first start for us to see the style of play that we want to play.
It's pretty when you play that way.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And when you score goals, I mean, who doesn't love scoring goals,
Yes. We all love goals, and hopefully a lot of them
Right.
coming up. And I guess
Right.
that's where I want to finish. On the road at Oklahoma next, home against South Carolina. If we just take that 2-game stretch coming up, a home, away and then home, other than winning those 2 matches, Coach, what would represent a significant step for you as you kind of now really get into conference play?
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of the SEC. You're going to have 2 very contrasting styles in those 2 games. Oklahoma plays very similar to like an Arkansas, where they're very direct. They just try to send a bunch of numbers forward. And so you have to kind of withstand a little bit of that pressure and then stay composed. And then South Carolina is the exact opposite. South Carolina will build all the way from the back, very possession oriented. So for us, to have success, we've really tried to build this program where it can do both. So that will be tested, both ranked teams, but that's kind of the norm, in SEC play. So we're really excited about where our program is and where we think we can go this week.
I don't want to get nasty emails or notes from the goalkeepers union. So I did not even ask you about Pena or Emmanuel and what you've got guarding the net in the cage for you there. So let's finish on that. Give me the personality of your keepers with this group.
Well, they've affectionately nicknamed themselves the Jazz Club. So if that doesn't give you a little insight into the personality, they're not short of that. I think we are so lucky to have 2 quality starting level keepers in Jaden and Paloma. Very different strengths. Jaden can serve, a ball about 70 yards on the fly, which is a huge advantage. She can make some really big saves. Paloma, really athletic, good reflex saves. Very passionate about how she leads our team. So we are very lucky. They got some experience last year behind Alexa Goldberg, and now that's really paying off this year.
We're lucky to have personality in the ones in the long sleeves. We like that too.
Yeah.
Samantha Bohon, thank you so much. Safe travels and good luck to your team here in the next couple of games.
All right. Thanks, Sean. Go Gators.
There's nothing better than leaving these conversations just open. You never know what you're going to learn, as we did today with George Gumbs and Samantha Bohon. I hope you enjoyed those visits. Thanks to them, of course, and thanks to our presenting sponsor, UF Health. Episode number 51 is now in the books. Soccer, as we mentioned, 2 big matches coming up. The Gators are off to Miami. take on the Hurricanes, a bye week, and then the October schedule begins, finally back home against the Texas Longhorns. Don't forget, all the coverage you need for all the teams participating in fall sports can be found at floridagators.com. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. You can find it wherever you find yours. I'm Sean Kelley. Until next time, so long for just a while. And as always, go Gators!